The Boy Who Lived. Soon to be told by HBO Max. Like never before.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
We're going to talk about things that we think do matter, the things that we think don't matter, the things that we are seeing that are concerning right now. And there's been some things that I've seen circulating around where they're trying to sort of gin up controversy or anger over misrepresentation. The movies themselves were famously restricted from casting anyone that was not British in a British role. And we have John Lithgow as Dumbledore, who is American and not British. And we had some people upset with John Lithgow's casting as Dumbledore. This one is another one that I really, truly could not care less about. Why would anybody care about the actual nationality of whomever is playing a role? If they can do the accent, I don't care. Like I said in the comments, we have more people. We probably have more British people playing Americans on TV and in film than we have Americans playing Americans on TV and in film.
We absolutely do, yeah.
Spider-Man is British right now, and it's just a non-issue. As Americans, I know that in the UK, it's clearly viewed very differently, and they seem to be much more precious about it. But I really don't care. Now, granted, we did have Dick Van Dyke do that accent in Mary Poppins, and that's our bad. He did do you dirty on that one. As much as I love Dick Van Dyke, that accent was rough. So I can't blame him for being a little bitter, but in the grand scheme of things.
There was the short term of unpleasantness back in the 1700s and the early 1800s, and they're probably
there's that
still a
whole
little bit bitter.
independence thing.
But to quote Tom Berenger in the movie Gettysburg, we did whip you British twice, as I recollect. So that probably still has a little faint scar on the culture. But yeah, and I don't have a problem with Brits coming over here playing American roles. I never have.
So while we talk about the particular accents, this is one thing that I am very curious as to how it's going to be handled and how the fandom will cope, and that is with Harry Potter himself. He's Scottish.
So it started off Saturday morning. I had a football game to play, and I can tell you, it went my way. Didn't really have anything to do after that, so I just slept the rest of the day.
So the young actor that is playing Harry Potter is Scottish. Now, it's not unthinkable or unreasonable to believe that perhaps he will be getting a dialect coach and he will fake a British accent for the show, foregoing his Scottish accent. However, this is a kid. I think it would just be easier to just let him be Scottish, which would obviously be a change. So that could be a big one. I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
They might be counting on the fact that not a lot of Americans are going to even know, even if he is Scottish.
My concern is not the Americans. It seems to be the UK side that is concerned about the accents. Because like I said, America doesn't care.
Hopefully he's able to work it out.
Yeah, because I think he had done like some little plays. I think that he was in an episode or two of some shows or stuff like that. But he does not have an extensive acting background. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that it seems like it would be easier to just let him be Scottish than to try to make him fake an accent at this point of his career, because I just don't know if he would have the ability to do that this young. And I wouldn't have a problem with them being like, okay, yeah, by the way, he's Scottish. Like, okay, his family's in London, but he's Scottish. Okay, like I don't care. But these people that really are hyper focused on the regions or the nationalities, maybe they will be. I don't know. But one of the things that got brought up as well in the comments of the previous video, Draco Malfoy, they're in the middle, and then surrounded by these other kids. Now, these all appear to be Slytherin. This was brought up in the comments, and then it wasn't until I went and looked for it. And now in the comments, they were talking about like, oh, there's one image where he's surrounded by all these kids, and they all have purple ties. Like, if they're all supposed to be Slytherin, what's going on? There's no purple house, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, this might be a thing. And then I looked here. There's a couple of things. Now, looking at the Hogwarts crest that is on everyone's robes, it's an H, but then behind the H appears to be purple. So these kids are obviously even younger than our primary cast. Obviously, you can tell that Draco is literally head and shoulders above all these kids that he's surrounded by. Like, I don't know if perhaps these are kids that have not been sorted yet. So they are just wearing just purple because maybe that's just like the default sort of Hogwarts thing.
Yeah, maybe that Dumbledore, after the sorting, he'll do that wand wave thing, and then all their clothes will magically turn into. I think that happened in Hogwarts Legacy, if I'm not mistaken, where he can just, with a wave of the wand, and turn all their stuff into the real things. But I mean, technically, Malfoy hasn't been sorted yet, if that's the case.
There is also another thing, and I wish that I saw an image, and I should have sniped it whenever I had the chance. I've not been able to rediscover it, but it showed kids. I believe it was on a train, and they had these scarves on, and it looks like they have done some tweaks to the uniforms of all of the houses. One of those tweaks appears to be adding purple to Slytherin, not as a primary color, but as a secondary color. So Gryffindor, it's got the red and then kind of like a golden sort of a color.
Yeah.
And so it looks like that with Slytherin. I saw there was a Slytherin scarf that was green with purple. So it's possible that these could also be purple ties for Slytherin. And honestly, if they added a little bit of purple, like a secondary color, again, I'm fine with that. In fact, those are my two favorite colors, green and purple, and I do love them together. So I'm on board.
Well, they're complementary, so yeah, it makes sense.
Going on to some misrepresentations that I have seen. I have seen this floating around. They'll say, well, look here. Here we have Draco Malfoy surrounded by his classmates, and now look up here. Here's Draco, and look at him surrounded by his classmates. He's so much taller than they are. They look so much younger, and this is misleading. This is not accurate. So again, these kids are clearly younger than Draco is. Very much so. What's going on here? I don't know. However, just from the trailer itself, the trailer we watched it here on the show, this was from the trailer. Here we have kids that are clearly his own age, clearly the same height as him. So they haven't just said like, oh, this is just going to be one string bean kid amongst all these. So,
and they have green ties.
Yes. So it's like, here you go. Here is from the trailer. It is not just that. So I don't know the context behind where those images are coming from, what's going on during that particular shoot, but I'm not too overly concerned about that.
And I'm gonna take a wild stab and say that that's Crabbe and Goyle behind him, with Pansy Parkinson or Posey Parkinson, whatever her name Parkinson was, on his left. So,
I would assume as well. So now I guess we can get into some of the things that I am concerned about. So again, one concern I have is this zipper. I do not like this being included as part of the look. Now, I did have some comments mentioned in an interview. I couldn't find the interview, but it's a good explanation as to what's going on. He has drawstrings, toggles, the zipper. It's just not good. But somebody said that this is a Quidditch ref uniform. That doesn't really make me feel any better. It makes me feel better that he won't be wearing it throughout the vast majority of the series. But I don't like that it's there at all. And then somebody said that in the trailer, you can see kids playing Quidditch and you can spot zippers. Now, I went frame by frame trying to find these images of kids with zippers playing Quidditch. And there were some snippets of some Quidditch stuff going on, but I didn't see any zippers. That will make it even worse for me. If there's not just this one zipper, but there are many. And anytime they're playing Quidditch, which is a very big part of Harry Potter. So that will bug me if we are seeing a lot of zippers. I don't like that, and I think that touch of modernity is not good to have. I don't like the thought.
It makes you sound like it's a bridge too far. And I don't disagree with you. I mean, I don't like the zipper idea, but as soon as you said Quidditch, or that it's part of the sporting garb, I'm actually okay with that, because sports have a lot of zippers, man.
But not in the wizarding world. We got buttons and sashes and ropes and belts and like that they can all have, these buttons. But I don't know. I just don't like it. But at least if that is the case, which obviously they're going to have a zipper. Like nothing we say now is going to remove the zipper. The zippers are going to be there, right? Yeah. So at least if it's Quidditch, at least it will be secluded to Quidditch. So again, this is one of those things where it's like, take the wins where you can get them. Regarding some of the other things, though, watching that segment, there was some stuff that I saw that I liked. There's some stuff that I saw that I did not like. One of those was something that John Lithgow said, and he used the word that I had hoped to not hear throughout the entirety of this series. And he said that he was so thrilled to be a part of this, where they got the opportunity to reimagine the world of Harry Potter.
And to reimagine the Harry Potter canon.
I had hoped to not hear the word reimagine. I do not want any reimagining going on.
The problem is there doesn't need to be any reimagining. What we got before, while certainly abbreviated because a lot of these books were huge, it was accurate to its source material, I felt. The past couple of weeks or last week bringing it up, you more than once used the word whimsy. And there was that sense when you were reading the books of childhood whimsy. I also do not like the word reimagining, or I don't like any of the words really. Remastering, rebooting, I felt like the material was fine the way it was.
Well, then he went on during this same little speech and said more that concerned me. And this was my primary concern with the show.
Old people always say concerning things.
Yeah. So the one thing, what was the one thing that we were like before any information came out, before any casting news came out, before any of that stuff, when we heard that HBO was doing a series, what was the one reason to be excited for it?
Telling the whole story of the books.
Exactly. That's what everybody was excited for. Oh, we have at least 8 hours, and it will be 8. He also mentioned that there were 8 episodes. So we're going to have 8 hours instead of 2.5 to tell the book. So we can dive into the book. We can have a more complete view of everything. We can get everything from the books. That was number one reason to be excited for the show. If that's the one thing you wanted out of the show, the one thing that you did not want out of the show was anything in addition to the books. Like, give me all of the books, but give me nothing else.
I didn't want additional. I didn't want using a beloved franchise as a medium for social commentary. Those were my big concerns, man. I had those two.
So John Lithgow said, and this can be taken a couple of different ways, but I'm kind of assuming the worst right now.
We get to enact all the things that you know are going on in the wings, but you don't see them.
That could mean one of two things. It could mean, oh, you know these things are happening because you read the books, and we just haven't gotten a chance to tackle these, and now we get to do it. But it really came off like, and it lines up with some of the rumors, that they're going to be giving us stuff that is outside of the books. There have been rumors that there were going to be things that were going to be done in addition to the material that was covered in the films. Things such as following Draco Malfoy and his home life, which I do not want. I do not want to follow Draco Malfoy. I don't want to know what his home life is. I don't want to sympathize with Draco until we
as he
need to sympathize.
In a Slytherin shirt.
Yeah, well, hey. But yeah, I don't want to sympathize with Draco until we need to sympathize with Draco. I don't want that, right? Like okay, we find out later, in the movies, that's the thing that we go into, and then the books, and we find out whenever, like, oh, he's very tortured, and he doesn't want to do this, and he doesn't really have the ambitions or the thing, like all these things, his conflicted soul and his inner thoughts. I don't need to see that right now. I don't want to see that right now.
Conversely, I don't want to see Hermione at home with her mom and dad either. We're watching this show to escape from the reality of the real world. Don't take us to the real world. Definitely don't spend hellacious amounts of time there. If they do, I swear to God, man, if they do one episode where it's phone booth style episode where we're just following one character through their day, I'm going to lose my shit. I hate those episodes.
Or they do the thing where
I hate them.
Or we're like building up to like something big, and then we have one episode that's completely outside the source material,
completely detached.
I know that there have been some leaks from filming that show like what seems to be some flashbacks for Dumbledore, and I don't want to see any Dumbledore flashbacks in the series. I don't want to see what Dumbledore is doing whenever he takes his little outings from Hogwarts. Like, we're not supposed to see that. That's the whole point, is that he leaves and we don't know what he does. He gets back and we don't ask questions. That's the whole point. I don't want to see the things that weren't in the books. Like Draco, we can figure out later how conflicted he truly is. I don't need to know that right now. Obviously, in the movies, the books, there are a few things that we see that are outside of Harry's perspective, where we see a little bit. But for the most part,
very few.
Harry is our headlights. So, we see whatever's in front of Harry. If he's not there, usually we're not either. And he is our avenue to see this world through. And I'm afraid that this might be steering into a part where, like, well, what if we followed what if we followed Draco? What if we followed Hermione? What if we followed Dumbledore? And I'm like, I don't want to. So
let's tell the story of how Voldemort ended up on the back of Professor Quirrell's head. Yeah, I don't need that.
these are things that concern me. These are things that make me nervous. That even so, during that making of documentary, they did show some of these sets, some in progress, some look to be near final, and they did look incredible. These sets they're doing. So that, like you had mentioned on the last episode, that the sets are going to be they're building these. So in the original Harry Potter, we did a lot of shooting on location.
Oxford for a lot of the outdoor shots, but King's College for a lot of the indoor and hallway scenes. So, yeah, excellent.
The sets that really look awesome. They look great. However, they do in fact, like you mentioned before, with the whimsy. The whimsy is a bit missing. However, obviously things aren't being color corrected. They're not. There's no CGI over it yet, and they did show like a little preview of something where you saw pages just kind of like in a little S curve going about around the ceiling, and it gave it. So it looks like they are going to do a little bit of that. But they also mentioned that they are going to take a naturalistic approach to the magic.
Nature is the root of magic.
I already don't like that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
I just look at yeah, I'm already having a hard constipating time with that whole phrase you just used right there.
Yeah, like what does that even mean? Like, we're not supposed to know where.
So we're not going to get any like glittering shimmer with the, like if you need to move a book, the book's going to move instead of move with like a little star trail behind it.
You know what that made me think of whenever they were going to basically that it sounds like they're going to explain magic to us, and you know what happened when they tried to explain the Force to us, and they tried to rewrite that whole thing.
The acolyte.
That's kind of what it sounds like to me, and I don't want that. So that part worries me. Like we don't need to try to like find some frame of reference to interpret the magic through. Just let it be magic.
I got to tell you, this segment's not doing real wonders for me as far as selling me on wanting to see this show. I'm still, I'm going to watch it.
Oh, yeah, I'll watch it. Like I said, Snape is the least of my fears. I have no issues with Snape. I have issues with Snape's zipper. It's all this other stuff. It's because, again, if we're not going to be able to find the person that looks exactly like they're described in the book for every single character, what I care about is the characterization. And I am afraid that we are going to be missing some of that, at least even just in this. Even if they nailed Draco, for example, even if they nailed Draco's characterization exactly like he is in the book, if we are given too much too soon, it ruins the arcs. If we are seeing Draco's home life, and we already see how he's treated and how conflicted maybe he is, or he's being groomed to be this villainous thing, and that's killing the arc that Draco goes through. So
I shouldn't be feeling sorry for Draco
exactly
in the first year. I should be seeing exactly what I saw
you should hate
on the stairwell on Sorting Hat Night in the first movie and go, man, that kid's a prick.
Yes. Yeah, you should hate him, and you should hate him for at least 6 seasons. Like, hate him.
Absolutely.
It's the characterization that I want them to nail, and I do fear that characterization may not land. So yeah, they talked about that. They talked about the costuming. That can go either way. I don't mind reinterpreting some of the costumes, especially given that most of what we understand as the visual language of Harry Potter was because that's just what was in the movies. It might not have been so descriptive in the books, but we just kind of had this look in the movies. Whenever we were looking at Dumbledore earlier, and then in the previous episode with his suit, which, as you've pointed out, is probably wearing under a robe, but the fact that he's wearing this waistcoat and a pocket watch that's just so not the Dumbledore that we got in the movies, and I'm okay with it as long as we can just not have the zippers. Like, I'll give you anything. I'll give you pocket watches. I'll take it. I'll take the pocket watches. Just don't. I'll even give you Nikes. Put Nikes on them. I don't care. Just don't give us zippers. I just don't want to see zippers.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I'm thinking back to the books when it came to the uniforms, and they talked about the robes. And I had an opinion anyway when I first saw the movies. And I was like, well, this is a largely British audience. And to tie it into public school and even private schools in Great Britain, the school uniforms make sense, although they really only annotate to the point of the ropes in the books. So other than the Quidditch uniform and pajamas. And I think they're doing the same thing here. Those look very much like private school classic uniforms.
I'm a public school kid. I never went to private school, so I don't know all the rules behind the way that the uniforms go, and if like the younger kids have a different uniform than the older kids. So like these purple ties, we'll get that, but ultimately, I don't think that. So yeah, I don't think the purple ties or the fact that he's head and shoulders above these kids in those images. Like I don't think all that stuff. But yeah, I've heard enough from other things that I feel are real concerns that have me worried. Like you said, I'm going to watch it. We're going to see what it's like and see how they do. I don't care if they add purple as a secondary house color to Slytherin. I don't care what the race of any of the characters are if it doesn't affect their relationships to anyone and it wasn't a part of who they were in the book. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't bother me. So as long as we get the characterization. Now, the one thing that could be encouraging whenever it comes to the characterization for these castings, at least for Harry, Ron, and Hermione, they basically did an open casting call. And I don't know, they probably did this with some of the other kids too, probably did it with Draco, but they did an open casting and they expressly said that they wanted every British child or every UK child to have the opportunity to audition. And so they had tens of thousands. I think they said just 40,000 alone for Harry Potter, that 40,000 kids that they auditioned for the role of Harry Potter this time around. And they landed with a Scottish Harry Potter. If you quit shrinking your perspective to, they have to be this specific nationality or region so that they have this explicit accent for the character, or they need to be this race because the character was described as this in the book, or that if you broaden that out and you're like, hey, I'm willing to concede some of these characteristics if it just gives me a good characterization, somebody that can embody the character, then you have a much greater chance of better casting the entire series. With this willingness to branch out and looking at the characterization and the way that somebody can embody the character, which is something that we've not gotten to see. We've gotten to see costumes and things like that, but we've not gotten to see anybody actually doing their thing. Even in the documentary, where you do get to see some behind the scenes stuff, you get to see people on video moving around in their outfits, in their costumes, but they're not doing scenes. So you don't actually get to see anybody you don't get to see the Harry actor being Harry, the Hermione actor being Hermione, right. John Lithgow being Double. You don't get to see them being their characters, even though you do get to see them in costume. We have a Scottish Harry Potter. We have an American Dumbledore that's obviously going to be doing a British accent. If you let some of these things go, we have a much better chance at getting people that can better embody the characters. Now, that's the one thing that I did see that was positive from the documentary, and the fact that it looked great. I mean, it looked stunning as far as the sets and stuff like that. But some of those things that were said are the big concerns that I have. I don't like this potential modernity kind of coming into play in the Wizarding world. I don't like what seems to be them looking to find some way to kind of ground or explain magic. I don't like that, and I don't like the seeming confirmation that we will be following people that we don't actually follow in the books.
I think you summed it up succinctly.
All right, there you go. There is our exhaustive hour-long take on Harry Potter, our stance on it, why we don't care about Snape, and why we do care about these other things.
I must bid you adieu. Goodbye. Mwah. And good